It's a happy new year. Hey, Chelsea.
Hello. What's up? What's up, 2025? Holla at your girl. Holla, 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 holla.
Holla, holla, holla at me. Okay. So, Chelsea, I have a question for you,
Okay.
or more of a statement.
Okay.
So, imagine this. You're walking along a body of water, minding your business, enjoying the view, and you spot something floating in the water. What's your first thought?
It's trash because people are litter bugs and are the absolute worst.
Okay, but what if it wasn't? What if it was just something that shouldn't be in the water?
I feel like I'm gonna regret asking this, aren't I?
Probably. Because today we are going to be covering the not so murder of Vaidas Jucevičius. Jucevičius.
What planet is this on?
This is Iceland.
Ah, that makes more
Does
sense.
that make more sense?
That does make more sense. Is this gonna ruin like nature walks for me? Like
Mm,
bodies of water for me?
yes. Yes, it
Cool.
is. So, you guys, today is our Happy New Year and it's our mini episode. And we wanted to stay in line with true outside fashion and give you guys a case for the new year from Iceland. Now, I just want to do a disclaimer that shouldn't be needed. Icelandic words are the hardest ever.
Hmm.
Okay. I happened to find a video when Zach and I went to Iceland, and this is literally what our GPS said. Are you ready?
Yes.
In 3.9 miles, turn right onto Kalastada.
Fala Sala Hunksviger?
It only has like 20 characters in that.
How many syllables? Kala Saga Huntsviger.
I don't know. Solid 8 or 9.
Can you imagine being in kindergarten? Like those poor kindergartners.
Listen. So this is our mini. This is a wild, wild, wild case. And we are all the way back over in the idyllic, picture perfect, picturesque Iceland. Are you ready for this rabbit hole?
I am ready for it.
So in February of 2004, there was a severe weather that hit Iceland's east side. Due to this, a ship collided with the pier in a small harbor of Neskupstadish.
Okay.
On the morning of February 11th, 32-year-old Forgish Johnson, a mechanic and diver, arrived at work to assess damage at the harbor. So this was a Wednesday after the storm to assess the damage.
Mm-hmm.
Forgish dove into the sea, descending to a depth of about 6 or 7 meters, where he encountered a chilling sight. What appeared to be a human body that had been wrapped in plastic and carpet, wrapped in chains around the legs with weights attached.
Oh, I bet he was like, how did the mob get all the way out here to Iceland?
Right? They were on vacation. Being a diver, Forgish unfortunately had retrieved bodies before, but had never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
He surfaced and for some reason was unable to dive again. So he called whoever he needed to call. Others had to come in and recover the body from the seabed. And even the toughest among them struggled to look. It was a harrowing sight. The body bore 5 stab wounds and what appeared to be a gunshot wound to the neck.
Oh gosh.
The police were notified immediately and the investigation was launched. What initially confused investigators, though, was that the body found was in an abandoned harbor.
Oh. Ooh. So somebody was like really trying to hide this thing.
Really trying to hide it. According to Ari Alexander Irgis Magnusson, he says, quote, "That element of chance haunts me. No one was even using that harbor anymore. It was like a ghost, a place forgotten. None of this was ever meant to happen. None of it.
That's crazy.
When police arrived and the body was pulled from the seabed, it was a total bewildering scene for investigators as Iceland's crime is minimal. So it was nothing like they'd seen before.
I was literally about to say, I was like, I'm sure the only reason why people are like die in Iceland is either because they just are old or they are like eaten by a whale randomly. Like,
Yeah.
once every 50 years, someone accidentally gets eaten by a whale.
Yeah. Or they slip and fall in a volcano.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So during the initial examination of the body, it did not appear that the corpse was underwater for long. It was still, for lack of better words, fairly fresh.
Mm.
They did notice the stab wounds, and so they suspected that the man may have been killed, and then the body was thrown in the sea in order to conceal the crime.
Mm-hmm.
It was a dump job, is what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Upon unwrapping the body, they noticed a man in his 30s or 40s with an ordinary appearance. He stood just over 180 centimeters tall. Don't know how tall that is. I think it's like 5'8", 5'9". Was strongly built with blonde hair and a mustache.
A mustachio.
There were no distinctive marks or unusual features. And initially, there was really quick fear in the community that it was an Icelandic local, because the news started to spread that a body had been found in the harbor, and it was unsettling to the town because, again, this stuff never happens.
Right.
According to that same man, Ari Magnusson, he said, Iceland is like a family. There was a dead body, yet no one from the community was missing. So this meant that the body belonged to an outsider. As word spread, 2 employees from a local restaurant came forward claiming they had seen the man dining with 2 companions a couple of days prior.
Oh.
This led police to focus on the Norwegian cruise liner Senior, which had been docked over the weekend but had departed for Norway when the body was discovered. Investigators thought that perhaps this mystery man was one of the cruise's passengers, since it was sure to be a non-local. However, this lead proved fruitless. According to the ship's captain, there were 9 passengers when the liner arrived in the harbor, the Neskapupstadish, and and 9 had left. So 9 arrived, 9 had left. Therefore, there were no missing passengers.
On the cruise line Senior? There were only 9 on the cruise line Senior?
No, yeah, 9. The police also investigated whether the man might have worked for the Italian contractor Impregilo, which was operating in Karunicar at the time. Yeah, listen, guys, I'm so sorry. This is just, I'm not here for it. I can't. However, no employees were reported missing from there either. So as of now, this was a total mystery to the entire country of Iceland as who this mystery man was.
Mm-hmm.
As the days passed with no other leads, the nation awaited the autopsy results, hopeful for more answers. In the days following the discovery, police released little information, fueling a wave of conspiracy theories in the media. Some speculated that the injuries suggested an Eastern European-style execution.
Oh.
There were no surveillance cameras covering the area where the body was found. And so the following day, a sketch of the victim's face was released, and the public was asked to contact police if they recognized who this man was.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody came forward.
Okay.
The body was then transported to the capital city of Reykjavik, where an autopsy would be completed. In the meantime, investigators continued with the investigation. The International Cooperation Department of the Icelandic Police, Interpol, gave fingerprints of the victim's body. So basically, the Icelandic police department sent it to like European Interpol, right, to try to see who this person was.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly afterward, finally, police caught a break, and the fingerprints found a match to a man from Lithuania.
Oh.
He was identified as 27-year-old Vaidas Jucevičius.
Mm-hmm.
And Vaidas, he was born in 1974. in Telshay, Lithuania, and had flown to Iceland from Copenhagen just about a week prior.
Uh-huh.
Investigators were able to identify that he had also had a return ticket booked for February 6th, but as we know, he never made the flight back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And around the same time, police were able to identify 3 potential suspects in this whole bizarre case.
Okay.
2 young Icelandic men and 1 Lithuanian man.
That were living there in Iceland, obviously.
That was there in Iceland. The 3 men had voluntarily presented themselves to the police in Reykjavik on February 16th, but they all denied having any involvement in the case. They were identified as Grétar Sigurdsson, Jonas Ingi Ragnarsson, and Tomas Malauskas. Okay?
Okay.
And Tomas was the Lithuanian, and all 3 of these men were in their 30s. After initial questioning, the 3 had told investigators that they had been traveling in a rented Pajero Jeep, claiming they were just visiting, as Grétar or Sigurdsson was originally from Neskupstadish, the kind of same area where he was at.
Right. That, and it's a village in Iceland or town in Iceland.
It's a town. Mm.
Okay.
Their homes in the capital area and their vehicles were searched, leading to the discovery of Vaidas's blood in one of the cars.
Oh, no. Oh, that's bad.
As a result, they were arrested on February 20th and remanded into custody. Over the next few days, the suspects were extensively interrogated, and Sigurdsson eventually confessed to his involvement.
Siggy.
Mm-hmm. Their accounts of the event diverged significantly, and the police kept details of the case under wraps. After 4 days in custody, the trio was actually released. So on February 24th, they were released, but remained under formal investigation, awaiting formal charges.
Mm-hmm.
Around the same time, the autopsy on Vaidas had been completed. The medical examiner determined that he had died on February 8th, so just a few days before his body was found.
Right.
But what was even more shocking was that Vaidas's cause of death was not a homicide.
Okay. Did he eat some bad cod, some bad Icelandic fish? Because, I mean, isn't that all they eat is like whale blubber and weird canned fish?
I don't know. It was clarified that the neck wound found on Vaidas was actually not caused by a gunshot wound, as investigators had initially assumed. In fact, there were no injuries pointing to a homicide whatsoever.
Okay.
Bewildered, police asked, how can a man end up on the bottom of the ocean, wrapped in plastic bags, carpet and chains, and weighed down by weights and not be the victim of a homicide?
I mean, correct. Yes.
He obviously didn't wrap himself up that way.
I don't think so.
This isn't Houdini. And that's when the medical examiner dropped the bombshell. The cause of death was determined to be a small bowel obstruction and not from the stab wounds.
Okay.
A bowel obstruction, are you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
That was likely due to the 400 grams of amphetamine found in Vaidas's body that had been packed in small rubber bags.
He was a drug mule?
It's looking like it.
Was he the fill-in on Lucy?
I know, right? 61 packets in his digestive system, 21 in his stomach, and 40 in his small intestine.
That's a lot. That's a whole lot.
That's a whole
That's
lot.
like as many syllables as that road that you were on. A lot.
Yeah. A large amount of fluid in the abdominal cavity suggested that one of the packets had ruptured, releasing chemicals into his body. And so now questions shifted for the investigators from who killed, who was originally John Doe, to who wrapped him up, tied him down, and dumped him in the harbor.
I mean, probably somebody who didn't want anybody to know that they were running that many drugs.
Right?
And he was transporting, or he had in him balloons of meth, you said?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
they have trailer parks? Do they have trailer park drug greens in Iceland?
I don't know. Iceland's not supposed to have drugs.
I'm like,
They're too great. They're the number one country in the world.
that's what I mean. I was like, I feel like this should be set in like backwoods Alabama. No offense, Alabama, but come on.
Detectives knew they were onto something when the three men they had arrested. They were like, there's something here. So they continued to interrogate them. They told the men they now knew the gig was up, and this was about the 400 grams of amphetamines found in Vaigas's body. So they told each man to, I was going to say, spill the beans, spill the pouches, right? You need to
Yes. Spill the balloons.
spill the balloons. Each of the three men initially denied any involvement, but then began to cave by giving a variety of different versions of the same theme of the story. After many interviews and interrogations, this is what was found to have happened. Tomas, the Lithuanian, had been living in Iceland for almost 3 years, and he was the one who got Vaidas to transport the amphetamines to Iceland. The substances were smuggled from Lithuania to Copenhagen, and then Vaidas then flew with them internally to Keflavik. Sigurdsson and Jonas, the two locals, they were the sellers. And they intended to make major profits as intermediaries to take care of distribution in Iceland. The pretext of this activity was under an organization called MMRO, which is Marine Mammal Rights Organization. So they were trafficking drugs under a charitable marine mammal rights organization.
Do you have no shame? Like, hashtag save the manatees, hashtag just kidding, we're smuggling drugs.
Yeah, for real.
What?
But no actual charitable activities were ever carried out under that organizational name. So it was literally just an organization to cover this whole drug smuggling operation.
Okay.
On Monday evening, so backing up, on Monday evening, February 2nd, the plane landed in Keflavik, and the three men drove to the airport to pick up Vaidas.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't find him, so they ended up driving back to Reykjavik and then ended up meeting him at Hotel Loftlighter. And from there, they went to Thomas's home in Kopavoger, I don't know. And they waited for nature to return the materials from Vaidas. You got to pass the balloons.
You're waiting for him to poop it out.
Yep.
Oh, and there were like, what, 40 of them?
61.
61? Oh, no. Oh, you couldn't pay me enough money. You couldn't pay me enough.
But unfortunately, Chelsea, shortly after Vaidas touched down in Iceland, he began to complain of abdominal pains and was unable to pass the 61 bags of capsules he had swallowed. The first day was waited in vain. Vaidas began taking laxatives, but these also did not help. As the days passed, Vaidas and his two Icelandic partners in crime agonized over what to do. Vaidas's health was drastically deteriorating and quickly, and he was in immense pain.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone involved knew that they could not take him to the hospital lest their smuggling attempt be found out. So they gave him morphine to help with the pain in hopes that he would pass the drugs. Eventually, the day came for his return trip, and he decided, I'm just going to have to go home, and we're going to have to maybe try this a different day. So on the morning of February 6th, when he was supposed to head back, Tomas and Gretar would take Vaidas to the airport from where he would fly home back to Lithuania. But along the way, Vaidas decided to turn back and go back to the apartment because he was in so much pain and all of this stuff was happening, and he did not trust himself to take the flight.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, he had started vomiting blood.
Oh, God. Ugh.
At some point along the way home or to the airport, the three men turned the car around, picked up Gretar at his home, and headed back to the apartment. And just 2 days later, Vaidas was dead.
Oh, gosh. So did the balloons just all get like, they just got impacted in there? Like
I don't know. They just said a bowel obstruction.
Oh, gosh. Ooh.
After Vaidas died, the three men began to panic. In an attempt to cover their tracks, the men opted to toss Vaidas's body into the harbor. They placed his body in a plastic bag, wrapped it in carpet, and sealed it with glue. Initially, Tomas suggested burying the body on the outskirts of Reykjavik, but they ultimately decided to drive east. Now, Reykjavik is the very furthest west kind of point in Iceland. And so the harbor that he was found on was on the whole literal other side of the island on the east coast.
Okay.
So they loaded Vaidas's body into the trunk of their rented Pajero SUV. Jonas and Tomas drove east while Gretar flew to the same kind of area where the harbor was.
Mm-hmm.
So as the two men drove Vaidas's body east, a severe blizzard hit East Iceland that weekend, forcing them to take shelter along the way. They stayed for 2 nights at a hotel, mostly remaining in their rooms and having food delivered. On Sunday, the weather cleared up enough, so they continued their journey to meet Gretar in the afternoon. They spent some time driving around town, searching for a suitable location to dispose of the body, eventually settling on the harbor. Around midnight, they arrived at the net-making pier. They drug the body from the trunk, tied ropes around the neck, torso, and legs, then secured a chain around the neck and attached heavy rubber buoys or weights to the legs. At this point, Gretar took out a knife and stabbed the body 5 times. While some people speculate that this was a desperate attempt to retrieve the drug packages, investigators believe the real reason was to prevent it from bloating and floating to the surface.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That would make a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah. On the count of 3, the 3 men threw Vaidas into the harbor and watched him sink. Then they piled back in their European spec car and drove all the way back to the other side of Iceland to Reykjavik. When they were back, according to the medical examiner, after conducting the autopsy, it was found, and this is the sad part. I mean, his death is sad, right? But the medical examiner said that Vaidas could have been saved if anyone had intervened and put him under medical care. The small intestine was not broken and there was no necrosis in the organs. So basically, if they just removed the blockage, he would have been fine.
Right, right.
So police are trying to figure out all of this stuff. And the 3 men, again, gave kind of different accounts of what had happened up until the disposal of the body. Gretar confessed his part in the case, and shortly afterwards, Tomas confessed, but their stories didn't match. Gretar claimed that he had not known that the body would be moved east. He had flown there to get out of the situation.
Okay.
Tomas, however, claimed that Gretar had arranged the move and flown east to prepare for their arrival. Jonas denied any involvement and didn't know. He was like, I didn't know that there was a body in the SUV the whole time.
Right.
Gretar said that he wanted to take Vidas to the hospital, but threats from outside had stopped him.
Oh.
So basically, Tomas was like, we had been in constant contact with his collaborators in Lithuania who were a part of the Lithuanian mafia and had forbode them to disclose the imports.
I think that's my favorite word. Forbode.
Forbode. These threats apparently were not directed only against themselves, but also against their loved ones. So basically, nobody can find out about this drug smuggling operation or we'll kill all of your families, right?
I was just about to say, is there a handbook? Is there a mafia, like an international mafia handbook? Because why is it that all like mafia mob involvement involves like the same wildest stuff? Like wrap them 3 times, cover them in glue, and let them sleep with the fishes.
I don't know, man. Take it out of each other's book, I guess. So Gretar would go on to say that, you know, it was kind of a relief to confess because he kept thinking about Vidas's family and just how terrible it was that people that loved him might never find out what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
Vaidas left behind a girlfriend of 6 years and his parents. No one in Vidas's family had any knowledge about drug smuggling or Vidas's last-minute trip to Iceland. His family was left with grief and confusion in the wake of his bizarre and highly publicized death.
Yeah.
Gretar, Jonas, and Tomas were charged with drug smuggling, crimes against the life and physical integrity of Vaidas, and desecration of his body. Additionally, Gretar faced a weapons charge after a search of his home uncovered an illegal rifle, a crossbow, a club, and various bladed weapons, including feather and throwing knives.
And ninja stars, and bow staff. Oh, man.
The trial for the 3 men began on Monday, October 18th at the Reykjavik District Court. Jonas maintained his innocence, claiming he had planned to meet Vaidas regarding a totally different transaction regarding property and only saw him on the morning of his death. He denied any connections to the Lithuanian mafia and was like, that's not a thing.
They were going to meet up and talk about fundraising opportunities and ideas for the Save the Sea Mammal organization.
Right? The verdict was delivered on November 9th, with only Gretar present in court. The judges ruled the trio guilty of drug trafficking and held them responsible for Vaidas' death, noting that they should have sought medical help for him. Each received a sentence of 2.5 years in prison.
Womp, womp.
Tomas was granted probation in September of 2006, but was subsequently deported by the Directorate of Immigration. So he was sent back to Lithuania.
Oh.
A little over a year later, he was arrested in Iceland again for violating his re-entry ban using the alias Tomas Arlauskas.
So he just kept his first name and changed his last name?
Yes.
He probably didn't even update his passport picture.
Probably not.
He like drew a little mustache on it with a Sharpie.
Yeah. During his arrest, when he violated his re-entry ban, authorities found 25 grams of amphetamines in his possession.
Tomas, man. He's like, go big or go home. He was like, I didn't choose this thug life. This thug life chose me.
Oh,
I can't
some people
quit it.
never learn.
I
Never
can't
learn.
quit it.
In 2009, Jonas, he became involved in another major criminal case. He, along with Tinder Jonsson, was convicted of large-scale amphetamine production.
Wow, look at Tomas, man. Come on, dude. Get a better hobby.
Authorities seized enough precursor materials to manufacture over 14 kilograms of pure amphetamine, with the potential to produce up to 353 kilograms.
Oh, tisk, tisk, tisk.
So 2 of the 3 are back in Iceland, back with amphetamines, back trying to get rich, get quick schemes.
Golly. Guess who's
And
back?
so
Back
he ended up
again.
admitting to the involvement and received a 10-year prison sentence, while his partner received 8 years.
Okay.
Gretar completed his sentence in February of 2007 and shifted his focus to strength sports. He has since competed in Iceland's strongest man competition multiple times.
So he switched his focus from amphetamines to steroids.
And that is the wildly true and bizarre case of the not-so murder of Vaidas Jucevičius.
Well, that sucks, man. Sucks. Dare to keep kids off drugs, man. McGruff the crime dog wasn't showing up at their junior highs when they were in school.
Was this not the craziest thing?
I just didn't think that people actually swallowed balloons full of drugs. I really, truly thought that that was like Hollywood, just make believe. I really was like, I can't believe that people actually do that.
Well, they actually do. And the moral of the story is don't smuggle drugs because you'll wind up at the bottom of an ocean.
You'll be sleeping with the fishes.
So, Chelsea, did this ruin your love for all things water?
Well, yeah. I mean, because I'm always like, it'd be fun. I think snorkeling would be fun. And now I'm like, no, because I'm going to be like, oh, look, fish, 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 carpet that looks like a body. What? Like, no, because that would be my luck.
It would be your luck. It would absolutely be your luck. So let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you thought about our fabulous New Year bizarre Wild Side mini episode.
I like minis. Minis are fun.
Minis are fun. We should probably do more of them.
I know, we should do more minis. But
Yeah.
cases, like, they're usually so complex, though. Like,
right. Yeah.
We try to condense it down, but I feel like there's too many questions when you condense it down. You know? Or maybe we're the only ones who have questions. Maybe everybody else is like, I don't really care. I don't really care how he got down there. Like,
right.
Was he murdered or not? Maybe that's it. Let us know. Are you the type that cares about the details? Do you care about the details? Or are you like, I don't really care. I just want to figure out who got the money, who got the life insurance.
I mean, we can turn this podcast into 30-minute episodes like everybody else.
We sure can.
We can do that. It's much easier. It's much less typing. But if you guys like the deep dives, then we'll keep them long. Just let us know what you think.
Yeah. Well, as always,
thanks for hanging out with us on this wild and crazy, not so murder of a ride.
And we'll catch you on the wild side.
Bye, guys.
Happy New Year.